What is up, y'all? Listen, if you missed out on Peak Partnership 2022, then you have been living in absolute FOMO for an entire year. And you know what? I don't want that for you. But I got good news for you. Peak Partnership 2023 is coming up. So, man, we can't wait for you to join us in Orlando, Florida. It's February 17th through the 19th. And I'll tell you this, it'll be an even bigger and better event. We're talking more people to network with, more opportunities, more multifamily opportunities, awesome headliners, and of course your boy Tyler Devereaux is going to be up there speaking as well. It's the event of the year, and I can promise you this, you will not want to miss out. So listen, visit mfmpeakpartnership.com. I'll say it again, mfmpeakpartnership.com for more details and to reserve your seat right frickin' now. This event is going to be epic. You do not want to miss out, so click the link in our description to register. Sincerely, what are you waiting for? Click the frickin' link, mfmpeakpartnership.com, and register, and I cannot wait to see y'all there. Aloha.
Welcome to this episode of the Growth Cast. It's me, Jackson Campbell, joined again with Dallas Pruitt for another extended cut episode here. We're very excited for this episode. We're very excited to be here together. We love doing these episodes, and we're excited to have you here. If it is your first time joining us here on the Growth Cast, welcome. Please come back and continue to come around to listen to these episodes. Just a quick rundown of the Growth Cast, so everybody's well aware of what's going on here. Monday through Thursday, you get daily drips from Dallas Pruitt, where he comes in and he drops a mindset principle and teach about 3 to 5 minutes about a mindset principle to get your day going. And they're very powerful and impactful episodes. Definitely tune into those. And then on Friday, I get the opportunity, Jax Campbell gets the opportunity to sit down with Tyler Devereaux and do an Aloha Friday episode where we talk about multifamily real estate, but we also always talk about mindset principles because we know you can't really do multifamily real estate without having a positive mindset and a growth-oriented, abundant mindset. And then on Saturday, the episode you're listening to today is an extended cut where I get the opportunity to sit down with Dallas Pruitt and discuss mindset principles and pick Dallas's brain. Dallas has been studying mindset for quite some time now, and we're lucky to have him on the podcast to explain these principles in simple yet elegant ways that we can apply them into our daily lives. This month, for these extended cut episodes, we've been talking about the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's been our book of the month. We're going to dive into some of those principles today and start talking about a few of those things. Before we do that, just a reminder, we've got Peak Partnership coming up in a couple of weeks here. We're kind of coming down to the wire. February 17th, 18th, and 19th in Orlando, Florida. We'll be doing Peak Partnership. There is a link in the description here to this episode to get tickets for that. So definitely join us there. Dallas will be speaking live at that. I'll have some time on stage as well. Tyler will be there speaking live. It will be an amazing, amazing event. So please do grab those tickets. I believe we're running a sale right now too. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we're running a BOGO sale. If I'm not mistaken.
Hey.
So definitely get in there. Definitely get in there. Yeah, grab your tickets for sure for Peak Partnership. Going to be special. But let's dive in here, Dal.
Links. You said that, I think. Links in the show notes, as well as if you follow Jackson, myself, or Tyler, or the Multifamily Mindset on Instagram. If you click those links in our bio, you'll be able to get where you need to go in terms of Peak and anything else. So just kind of orient yourself there. But
absolutely. Yeah, all right. Enough of that business stuff. Let's dive right in here to this episode. I'm excited to talk about this principle.
Yeah, me too.
But Dallas, give us a brief rundown about what we're going to chat about today.
Yeah, I'll maybe give you some even like deeper context prior to launching all this out and weaponize you guys with some actionables and some tools for life in the workspace. But been going through some struggles lately with my son, and I don't know how relatable that is for some of you, but my son, he's involved in sports, and just lack of effort sometimes, or like involvement, kind of just showing up and with and enjoying it, smile on his face, like going through the motions. He's 8, mind you, like let me preface it with an age there, which so is completely normal, right? But for somebody like me who I just have this tick about me, this part of my identity. I've not just like identified with being a high achiever, in adulthood. Like I was the first kid to turn in my assignment in kindergarten. I was the, rush to get through everything, be the first guy to put it into the basket. I was the guy to do everything the best. And I took pride, not that that was healthy, but like that was me, right? That was my identity growing up. Yeah, competitive. And my son is that sometimes. And then a lot of the times he's just wired different. He loves having fun. He's there to enjoy and be with his buddies. And he's not like extremely driven right now in terms of basketball. This was a basketball game. So we got done and I'm driving home and I just light him up. Right. Like I was still a good dad. I wasn't a mean dad, but like I was lighting him up like, Crosby, like, dude, if you want to succeed, like you've got to do this and come on, man. Like, and I started talking about like all these, I just rattled off a bunch of word vomit, honestly, because I was frustrated. And anyways, I came home and I just felt like garbage. I was like, dude, this is not good. Like, you know better. Come on, dude. Like I'm reflecting. And so anyways, it took me down this path of and we'll put these pages in the show notes, pages 183, 184 in the book, where Carol Dweck talks about a specific example of something very similar. And what it was a dad who went to go watch his daughter at a gymnastics meet, and she was stoked. She had already envisioned like putting this ribbon, this first place ribbon for her floor exercise in her bedroom. And she was just jacked. Right. And she was competitive and driven. Yeah. And so, which my son does this too, right? Like my son talks like that. I think even us as adults, we talk like that all the time. Like, I want this position. I want this reward. I see myself doing this, and this is what this looks like. Right. And how many times does that happen perfectly for all of us? Very rarely. Like that's why we have this podcast. Like very rarely does something you want happen perfectly the very first time you ever attempt it.
Great point.
So anyways, this example, she goes through, she does great. She competes, she gives full effort, and she does well at first, and she's kind of up in the upper tiers of placing. And then as the competition continues on and more participants get involved, she kind of starts to fall, and she doesn't place last and she doesn't place first, but she's kind of somewhere in the middle, and she's just disappointed. She gets done. She doesn't place first, second, or third. So she's not on the podium. And
no ribbon.
No ribbon. I mean, we all know the feeling. And Carol Dweck in this section, dude, she poses the question. I think it's a great question for all of us. And again, try to relate this back to, obviously we're talking about a specific example with a kid and a parent, but this is very applicable to you, your boss, you as the boss, right? Or the leader, with a team member in a team situation. Which again, relatable for all of us in many different aspects of life. She posed the question. She says, what would you do, right, in this situation if you were Elizabeth's dad? Again, she's bummed. She's sad. She didn't receive a ribbon, and she's like me that day driving home with Crosby, where Crosby was disappointed. I could tell the look of disappointment on his face. Yeah. And so she gives these options, and she says, would you tell Elizabeth you thought she was the best? Would you tell her she was robbed of a ribbon that was rightfully hers? Would you reassure her that gymnastics is just not that important? Would you tell her that her ability's there, she has the ability, and that she'll surely for sure win the next time? Or would you tell her, the last option she gives, would you tell her that she didn't deserve to win? And I think
let's talk about this for a second. I think a lot of times that's what parents are going to console their kid. That's what they're going to want to do, right? Because it's the loving thing. They're going to want to put their arm around their kid, or that's what they believe is the loving thing. Yeah. Is to have that compassion and that. How about this? Yes, they believe they know. That's what they know. They only know what they know. We only know what we know. So go ahead. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, right. They believe they know that they're going to go in there and basically console. And like you're saying, tell them, I thought you were the best. I thought you did a great job. You definitely should have won, whatever. Giving them all, like creating excuses for your child is honestly what you're doing. But again, we're talking about a parent and a child situation here. This can be applied to any situation where you're a leader, even when you're a friend. Even when you're a friend, there's times where your friends fail, right? And you just want to put your arm around them and say, oh, it's all right, buddy. You know, it's okay. Dude, you're a stud. Relax. You're a stud. You just had some bad luck. You know, that really got you that time. It's that's not the best thing to do, as Carol Dweck goes on to explain. But I'll send it back over to you. I just think that's the natural thing that everybody does, is everybody wants to take care of or love, and that's they think that that's the best way to do that. But
well, and
Carol
it's
Dweck,
because I think, so just to kind of recognize, like, your natural inclination is to somebody's in pain, so go like attack the pain with love, right? Like,
right.
and you only know what you know. So you, rather than sit for a minute and like really think deeply about this and do the work, do the mental work prior to going into a situation to really help that person with what it is they want, right? You just go in and you do what you want, which is you want to help that person feel good.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking about what they want, and I think that's an actionable in and of itself, it's like, really listen to the kid, really listen to your team member, to your employee, to your partner. What do they want? Again, your natural inclination is to just do what you want, which is, if somebody you love is in pain, what do you want to do? You don't want them to be in pain anymore. So you'll go attack it. But it doesn't really matter. It does, but it doesn't, right? Like, it's actually interesting because this different approach is actually love at the highest capacity, because you're paying attention to what they want. What do they want?
Right.
And so this is extremely powerful, but she goes through and she gives context to what happens with each one of these scenarios. So let's go through each one of them. The first one, the first scenario, you thought that she was the best. She states that this is basically insincere, right? Because in that situation, Elizabeth Crosby, for example, was not the best. He was not the best. And you know it. And he knows it. They know
it. Exactly.
Yes.
So
yes,
really, it's a disservice to you. They know you're lying to them at that point, and they know you're just trying to make them feel better. Like, this isn't, totally. People aren't stupid, even kids, it's not.
But also it blocks off, neurologically, it blocks off any creative solutions for improvement. Like, there's no learning, there's no thinking that happens post that. We talk about wiring of the brain. Well, from a young age, when you're told that, as you bleed into adulthood and grow, your brain doesn't go, oh man, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? What's the recipe for success moving forward if I want to get better and hit this mark? How bad is that? Like, that is detrimental, right? But it happens. We're wired early on because of comments that we hear, because of a good place that people come from, because they want to pour love into us and they don't want us to hurt, right? And so again, like, we're all guilty of this, but it's so powerful to be able to recognize how this really works and then how to apply it in the workspace and in life. So the next example, though, she says, the second one, she was robbed, right? Actually places blame on other people, when in fact the problem was mostly with her performance, with Elizabeth's performance, with Crosby's performance, with your team member who's struggling, their performance, not the judges, not the boss, not the leader, right? Like, it's not their fault. And the question you really need to ask yourself in that moment is like, do you want your team member? Do you want your kid? Do you want whoever it is that you love, that
person,
to go up and like point a finger and blame things and other people? Do you want them to be a blamer, right? And dude, what's funny is I recognize the other night when I took Crosby out to like dive further into this, we're practicing, right? Like, we're working through this, trying to teach Crosby how to, like, and it's fun, dude. Like, it's crazy because it's fun. It's not maddening. It's actually fun to be able to do this with your kid. We go over to the gym, we go practice, and I'm playing him hard. Like, I'm one-on-one, like challenging him, right? And he's driving to the hole and he's kind of rushing his shot and he's getting a little stressed and he misses. And I was like, hey bud, like, don't go for a layup straight on with the basket. Like, it's so much easier if you just like slow your brain down, go around and shoot a layup from the side, so you can actually use the backboard the way you're supposed to. And he's like, oh, he's like, it's not my fault. I was like, oh my gosh, like, whose fault is it then? Right? Like, I'm like, no, I easily could have been like, yes, it is. It is your fault. It is your fault, Crosby. Come on. And that was the natural inclination, was like to jam back down his throat and be like, bro, it is your fault. Right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, whose fault is it? He couldn't come up with anything. He recognized that it was his fault.
Right.
And I could see that light bulb click. And then I'm like, so whose fault is it, buddy? And he's like, mine. And I'm like, who is in control? Me. Sweet. Let's keep practicing.
Yep.
right? So again, you don't want people to grow up or anything a part of your organization, family,
Blaming others for their deficiencies. You
Totally.
don't want people doing that. You don't want people blaming others for their deficiencies. And that's what it's that's what it is, right?
Victim mentality, right? That you let that bleed into your organization, and it will be to your demise, right?
Absolutely.
So again, the next one, third, reassure her that gymnastics doesn't really matter. I mean, like, come on, is that really a viable solution? You know, you're teaching someone to devalue something that they've already decided they care about, which is
that they put work into, that they feel passionate about. So no, that's a huge one. At the same time, you can help your child or your team member also live in reality and also understand that this is just an aspect of life and it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, if you want to get better there, you can't devalue the thing that person has so much passion.
That's actually really important, dude. That's actually really important. So like, think about it. Absolutely. And I think that's one part of this section that it doesn't go deep into, that I think everybody needs to kind of go deep into themselves at some points in life with their kids, with their team members, as leaders is, well, like maybe part of the problem is that person just doesn't value what they think they really value.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what we're going through with Crosby too. I don't think that was the case for this example in the book. I think Elizabeth had already made her mind up that she cared about this pretty a lot. Right. But Crosby, like we're dude, it's important to experiment in life and figure out what you like, what you don't like. And I think that's part of the process with Crosby right now too is, hey buddy, like, if you want to play basketball for fun and you're not even sure if you love it and want to get better at it right now, guess what, bro? Like you don't need to be that way about everything in life, especially right now. Like decide what you like. Like it's a great time to decide what like, but even in adulthood, dude, it's a great time to like really go through that process and decide, what do I really value? Right? What do I really, really value?
And attach those emotions to the things that are valuable to you, right? Absolutely. If gymnastics is that valuable to this person because it means so much to them, whatever, then obviously that makes sense here, right? Is to not do that. Totally. But no, I love it.
Think about it. I don't want to get hung up on this, but like a prime example for me that's relatable in my own life that I'm sure many entrepreneurs and business owners and that have went through at some point this transition of like, I had to really like bite down on the fact that like, I thought I valued being a principal in a school, but really at the end of the day, like, dude, that wasn't what I valued. I valued increasing my financial well-being. Yeah. That was the avenue I thought I could go down in the space that I was in. I was very fixed about my thought process about how that could function. But I finally realized like, dude, I don't necessarily I value being a good leader. I value changing and impacting things for the better. But then my growth mindset started to kick in, dude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't really value being a principal. Like that's an iteration or a version of what it could look like. But is there other things out there? Oh my hell, there are a lot of things out there. Oh my gosh, I can increase my financial well-being by like doing other things. And I can actually like exponentially increase it via things like multifamily real estate and investing in other things. And utilizing my money properly instead of like getting a fixed mentality about like, oh, this is this singular way that this works for me. It doesn't work that way. And I had to really like, part of that process that helped me was going through the mental progression of deciding and having this type of conversation with me. Like, what do I really value? What do I really value? And I think it's an important process that's ongoing for everybody. And then the last,
sorry, dude, sorry to get us off on a little side tangent there.
This is so good.
No, let's move on for sure.
That's so good. So the fourth one is she has the ability, maybe the most dangerous message of all, she says. Does ability automatically take you where you want to go? The answer is absolutely no. And if Elizabeth didn't win that meet, right? Why should she win the next one? Why? Right? If she has the ability, she didn't win that. It's all for naught, right? You completely block off effort to create any growth opportunity that cuts it off.
Right there, when you say that, it's basically saying, "Oh no, you're good enough. You're perfect." Again, it was just like out of your control, it's just like a bad circumstance, right? So it's like you're telling them that they're good enough, which impedes.
It's like the ultimate excuse. Yeah.
It's the ultimate excuse for sure.
Totally. And then the last one, man, which again, originally sounds super harsh, where it's like, tell her she didn't deserve to win. You sit in that for a second with an 8-year-old kid. And it's like, again, the loving part of you start to really feel some dissonance. You start to really feel like this like, oh, this gut wrenching. Like, I don't know how I'm going to tell Crosby he's not good enough for what it is he said he wanted to do today.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you really like sit in it for a minute and compartmentalize everything and learn how to navigate that through these types of resources and mental work and mental performance work moving forward and growth mindset in life and the workspace, you can actually get better and better and better at having that conversation, which, because ultimately that is the right answer, right?
Yeah.
Like ultimately that's the growth mindset answer to help someone who is in pain because they're not progressing in something they want to do. Whether, again, that's a Crosby, an Elizabeth, a Jackson, a Dallas, a Tyler, or any other team member that's part of our organization or any organization that you're a part of, right? And it's the right answer. That's what we have to feed if we truly want to help things, help people, whatever, get better. And he goes down, he said, or she explains that, like, you don't just harshly come in and be like, hey, bro, you were Crosby, dude. Like,
can I get some actionables there? Can I get some actionables there?
Like truth is, Crosby, like, you suck.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. How horrible would that be? Go ahead.
Now that we understand that that's the actual conversation that we need to have with our team members, now that or our child or whoever it is, I think it's important to understand how to have that conversation, because there is a constructive way to have that conversation. You don't just come in like you just said, and you jump in the truck with Crosby right immediately. You turn around in the seat and you yell, "Hey, you didn't deserve that." No, that's not how you do it.
How you doing? I'm disappointed. Well, you should be, because you sucked today. You didn't deserve to win.
No, dude, that's not how you go about it, right? I think we kind of walked through some of those principles and some of those steps on how you go about that, dude. The first thing that you have to do, I love how you say, Dallas, do the work mentally. It's one of the biggest things that I've picked up from you is do the work mentally. Take yourself out of the situation. And the first thing, again, this is the first thing you need to do when going into a conversation like that, is realize that conversation is not for you. That conversation is not to benefit you in any sort of the way. So hold up.
The key word there is detachment. Keep going. But like taking yourself out of the situation is literal a skill that you need to continue to cultivate. And it's just simply put, detach yourself out of that situation
and understand what the other person needs, which the next step would then be, right? Do a little bit of discovery. Ask some questions. Ask Crosby how he's feeling. Crosby, why are you feeling so sad, man? Is it because it means so much to you? Why are you so disappointed, bro? Again,
help him recognize that he cares. That's a powerful thing.
Help him recognize that he cares. Well, man, and then lead right in. I mean, from there, what I do, Dallas, is then lead right into that, or ask the question, what could you have done better? What could have changed these circumstances? And then leading into that question, that statement is, well, man, even maybe asking, do you think you deserve to win after we just walked through all these things that you probably could have done better? And let them decide. You know what I mean? And then at that point, helping, it's really not telling somebody they didn't deserve it, but helping them understand the things they could have done better to deserve it. That's my true belief.
It's so powerful to understand that. And you know, it kind of, we talk about the purpose of why we're here, why we do what we're doing, why we're all part of this. And it's literally like, it's this analogy of like, instead of like burying, right, something, like you're planting a seed. You're not burying anything anymore. You're literally like planting a seed, and all of a sudden, boom, you can grow from that. And that's what happened with Crosby, is there was this light bulb. So I recognized, but again, this is how hard it is, because look, I told my wife this, I'm like, gosh, damn, like I'm the quote unquote guru, proclaimed guru when it comes to growth mindset and mindset and all these things. And like, look at me, I'm driving home from a basketball game Monday morning and I'm lighting my kid up and making mistakes. Well, it's because we care. We're emotional beings, and it's difficult as all get out to do this work properly, regularly, if you're not practicing it, studying it, and doing everything in your power to get better and better and better at it. And so I went back and I righted it wrong. And I pulled Crosby aside and I said, hey buddy, like, do you care about basketball? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you realize like you can do whatever you want with basketball or anything else if you care about. And he was like, yeah. And it's like, you can tell he's literally trying to figure that out. Like, oh, I can, like, I can. Yeah, I can. And I was like, you want to make more shots. He was mad. The root of it all was he played hard and he played good, but little kids, they they're only worried about how many baskets they make in a game, right?
Sure.
And Crosby has a game every once in a while where he doesn't make as many baskets as he wants to. And this was the issue. And I said, dude, if you want to, he took a lot of shots. He just missed a lot. I said, dude, if you want to make more baskets, if that's what you're saying you want, how do you do that? And he's like, well, I got to go shoot baskets. I got to go work on my form. He starts like learning and recognizing things he's got to do. And I'm like, okay, well, how many times in the last 2 weeks have you done that? And he was like, 0 outside of regular practice with my team. And I was like, oh, do you have an answer? And he was like, yeah, you want to go shoot tonight at the gym? And I was like, yeah, let's go. But it wasn't me being like, Crosby, you need to go shoot at the gym. You need to, if you want to do this, you got to go shoot at the gym. How powerful is that? Well, dude, all I'm doing is force feeding what his life should look like for him and creating a very negative environment for growth and happiness, success, fulfillment. And I'm not giving him power over his life, but now I'm learning with him, right? Like we're learning together. I'm his dad. I'm his leader in the family. And it's the same thing for business, dude. Like if I'm the leader in the business, then it's my job to help my team members understand and recognize what they value and show them the path of control that they have over getting to wherever it is they want to go and owning the outcome, owning the situation. And there's a very specific way that looks. And there's a lot of different ways that it doesn't look. And if we're not careful, we'll get caught up in all those different ways, those 1 through 4 ways, because we're just not conscious of what's going on and we haven't done the proper work to be better in that space. And yeah, you might be acting out of love as the leader, right? And trying to like extinguish pain or, whatever. But my invite is to like stop and slow down and really understand and recognize, like, are you making matters worse? Are you helping make the situation worse? Or are you truly helping the situation by helping that person through adopting, feeding a growth mindset and the things that they can and need to be doing in order to get wherever it is they want to go? Because anybody can change, anybody can grow. Crosby can do whatever the hell he wants in life and he'll be great at it. I can impact that for the better or for the worse. And that's why this type of system and process and this mental work is crucial for everything.
So good, man. So good. Again, just a reminder, I know we're talking about kids and sports here, but this can really be applied to anything and anybody in any sort of business, right? Any kind of challenge that you're even going through. It might even be business. It could be a relationship challenge. It could be anything. It could be anything that you could apply these things to, and helping those loved ones, helping those people you care about, truly see the things that they need to do to be better. Dallas, thank you so much, man. As we wrap up here, is there anything else that you wanted to add along the lines of what we've been talking about today?
I just think that, increasing your impact as a leader, as a dad, that situation, reflecting back, I know we talked a lot about Crosby and Elizabeth, but we're also talking about the dad and me and, business. I think that's just what leaders do, man. Like this podcast is a podcast designed for leaders, and that's what leaders do. They dive into the situations, they do the mental work prior to diving into those situations. They don't react. They don't shoot from the hip. They don't do those things. Leaders detach themselves from the situation and they do the prior work necessary to be able to make better decisions so that they can attack the situation consciously, intentionally, not just attack the situation. And I just invite everybody to take part in that. Again, go back. We're going to include these pages in the show notes, but there's a lot of other resources out there, Echelon Front, Jocko Willink, the work they do. There's a million others, but your job is to go do your due diligence on those resources and then put that stuff to work. Yep. And, detachment, that's why I brought them up, is because that's what happens in the military, right? Like it's skill set, detaching yourself from the situation. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but like, this is something that helps me. And we'll close out with this. Next time you get into a situation like this, I always talk about like literally getting myself out of the situation, right? Detaching from it. And I almost view like I'm watching this on a Jumbotron play out, like in a movie or in a stadium, watching a game unfold, right? You see things that other people don't see because you've got a different peripheral. You've got a different perspective on it. You got totality. You're watching it. Right. Well, you can do that with yourself. You can do that in a situation with you and your kid. You can do that in a situation with you and your team member who's struggling. You can do that in that situation with you and your wife or your husband or your partner. You can do that in any situation. You just got to slow your ass down, do the work prior, right? Do that necessary work. And the more you do that, the quicker you will be to notice like, oh man, I've got to detach from this situation and like really slow it down. And that's how you slow the situation down. And it's powerful. It's powerful, man.
So powerful. Dallas, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I think we could go off even longer to talk about this because I think it's something that we're so passionate about. Taking that moment, right? That Marcus Aurelius talks about this moment in time where you're faced with the problem, where you get to literally make the decision on how you're gonna react to it. It's exactly what you're talking about. Detach yourself from the situation, look at it, and make that decision on how you're gonna go about it. Dallas, thank you, my man. Thank you so much.
Jackson,
Everybody,
East Coasting it up today. Thank you, dude.
Yes,
he's not in Hawaii, he's in Miami, still somewhere tropical and beautiful.
All
and
good.
Fun. So
all good. Very grateful. Dallas, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge here. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Again, just a quick reminder, share, rate, review the podcast. We love what we do and we want to reach as many people as possible.
And register for Peak, and we'll see you there.
Register for Peak. Links in the description for sure. Dallas, thanks again, my man. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care, y'all.